Okay, how's that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, as Joe has already introduced me there, I'm just going to move on. The next slide I'm just going to have a look at is um, a lot of people ask me, what is industry looking for when it comes to certification? Do they need an academic qualification like a degree or master's to get into cybersecurity, or are they looking for professional certifications? Well, I would say it's a mixture of both. But I know a lot of industries would put a lot of stock into some professional certifications. However, this screen that I just put up here is just demonstrating the amount of cybersecurity professionals certifications that are out there at the moment. So just down at the very bottom at the entry level, if you're looking at that, for some of you, you'd be probably familiar with CompTIA. Well, they would offer, say, Networks Plus, A+, CompTIA Plus, Security Plus. So anybody kind of getting into technology from at the very beginning would probably be familiar with these CompTIA certifications. But then as you move up further, say novice and up into, say, SOC, security ops centers, you are then looking at different types of certifications. And up across the top of this, you can see anything got to do with security and engineering, anything got to do with offensive operations, defensive operations, security management. So there's different tiers and different levels. So it's not a case that you decide to put all your eggs in one basket, that you're going to become a software design, you're going to go into certification in software engineering, or you're going to go into design in networking. I think industry are looking for you to be able to kind of demonstrate that you're able to kind of have certifications right across different spheres. And that's really important as well, because if you understand how software is developed securely, and you also understand how networks operate and how they should be developed securely, and you also know how websites are developed securely, then if you're able to kind of gather as many of these small certifications, and a lot of these you can do online yourself, then it really demonstrates that you've got an overall view of how malware operates. And that's really, really important. And a lot of the courses that we teach with our students, we break apart malware and we look at the tactics, techniques, and procedures used by threat actors. And in order to be able to do that, we look at the technical level, the operating system level, the networking level, the software level, the forensics, digital forensics. And you really need to have a very good understanding, as I say, of networking, of operating systems, of software, of websites, of systems, to understand really how threat actors operate. So as many of these certifications as you can gather, if you're working with ITAG here at SkillsNet, and you're able to kind of do as well, in your own time, you're able to do some kind of an online course in Linux security, or an online course in something in Microsoft security. And a lot of these are free. Some of them are really expensive, but a lot of these are free that you can actually pursue yourself. Then I think that really points and highlights to an employer that you really are interested and active in this space. So later on in this presentation, I'm going to talk to you all about all the academic stuff. But I would really, and I've worked in industry for years before I became a lecturer, and I would have worked with teams of people. I would have had people working for me, and I would have always checked their industrial certifications, their professional certifications, because it demonstrates an interest and it demonstrates your enthusiasm for continuing and upskilling continuously in this space. Next slide I'm looking at is just, this is a security ops center and an IT professional. So some of you may have worked in IT roles. I don't know any of your background. I haven't met you before. So some people may have worked in an ops center. I myself started off working in a call center, and which was just troubleshooting on a help desk. And that was just very much ask the right questions, answer, get the right answers, and based on those answers, then you move on to another part of the flow chart. I'm not sure how many people have worked in help desks before. Maybe I see a few people nodding there, but if you're working in help desk, then that pretty much is at a tier 1 level in a secure ops center. And there's not many secure ops centers. It's really to preserve of large multinationals that would work in secure op centers. That would mean they'd have their own dedicated security and cybersecurity center for their organization. So a lot of multinationals would have this, but your general small to medium-sized enterprise wouldn't be able to do this. So I suppose what I'm pointing at here is this is indicative of the type of roles that maybe a secure op center professional would work in. So a tier 1 level is just you're just monitoring traffic, you're receiving phone calls, you're examining and doing triaging on initial tickets that are raised within the organization. And then effectively you then escalate that if you deem it necessary to escalate it up to tier 2. And tier 2 then requires deeper investigation and maybe advises against remediation. So you might want to put in a new access control list. You might want to put a block on a firewall. You might need a patch downloaded and spread across the organization, etc. And in tier 3 is then when you have a major breach. And every day we have major breaches. All you have to do is go Google any news items got to do with cyber breaches. We've had a number of high-profile breaches in Ireland that make the headlines. But what we don't see is the breaches that take place every day to small to medium-sized enterprises. And that requires in-depth knowledge, threat hunting, preventative measures. And I suppose at the master, we teach a master's, and I teach on that. I teach digital forensics and incident response. And that is really at tier 3 level that we're looking at there. And so from a secured op center, you're not going to jump in at the top unless you're not going to jump in as tier 3 unless you've kind of gone through tier 1 and tier 2 and you understand the machinations associated with that.
Sorry, Seamus.
Sure,
in the slide before.
Yeah.
Any reason why the other one, please?
Yeah.
Any reason why from the tier 2 you go directly to the threat hunter for the network and doesn't use the other level 3?
There's invariably, if you're in this, I suppose what I'm looking at is on the right hand side, what you have is I just put it in there as regards the roles, maybe you're monitoring incidents, etc. But in a secure op center, there's usually a hierarchy, and it's not just really tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, because what you're going to have is between tier level 2 and level 3 there, you're going to have people who are expert in endpoint protection, in malware re-engineering, and then and response. And then you're going to have people who are going to be expert in the networking. So within GMIT, we have dedicated IT people whose only role is in networking and IP number associations and network monitoring and the security associated with the network. We also have people who are dedicated with just in forensics and threat response and who are familiar with the MITRE framework, etc. And then you have people whose only job is then to protect my machine, my end device, and do some kind of endpoint protection and monitoring on my machine. So I suppose these slides are very much just indicative of the roles. And I suppose, as I say, your tier 1 and your tier 2 are pretty much straightforward. But the secure op center manager, the SOC manager, really needs to have dedicated people who are expert in these other fields as well. And they're going to be managers in their own right that will feed down into tier 2 and tier 3. Or sorry, tier 2 and tier 1.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
So as I said, I just brought up this slide because I just did a quick search on monster.ie or any other jobs that are out there. And I suppose the slide on the left-hand side, or the box on the left-hand side, is for a security consultant. So this is somebody who has years of experience. They're experienced in a role. Some of the experience that is required and the roles associated with that. So a lot of that, for example, like SOX, ISO, GDPR, a PCI DDSS, they're very much around the regulatory framework and the governance and the law and the legislation associated with credit card use, with health, with industrial systems, with production. And you need to be able to, they need to have an oversight of the security and the cybersecurity associated with what's going on there. And down at the bottom 3 bullet points, knowledge of cybersecurity concepts, SDLC, which is software development life cycle. Whoops, sorry, I've gone off that one. OWASP, which if you look up, just search for OWASP, you'll find that they are continuously monitoring breaches, and they always publish what's called the top 10 breaches every year. So just have a look for that one as well. And that's really at a security consultant. It's quite an involved role. I suppose the other box then is an IT infrastructure and security engineer. And again, they would have some of the bullet points in there is, they've worked on Linux, on Windows, working on area of security tools. And good to have, which would be industrial certified professional qualifications, right? So the very first tick box there that you can actually see, I hope you're actually able to see that, is where it says good to have. The very first one they have is industrial certified professional qualifications. So they are looking immediately for industrial certification. Familiar with other things like regulatory frameworks, governance, ISO, GDPR. And this one is specifically looking for Nessus or Keys, which is kind of bespoke software for this job. And I thought I had, down at the bottom, the last 4 bullet points down there, they also have is installation, patching, hardware, software maintenance on Windows and Linux server infrastructure. If any of you have worked in any type of IT related roles, IT support roles or technical roles, your job is really to maintain endpoints and servers at all times. And then the very last bullet point, configuration and maintenance of core networking equipment of Cisco switches, routers, and firewalls. So I suppose this all speaks to the ability to have good knowledge of software, to have good knowledge of endpoints and operating systems and servers, and have the good knowledge of networking and communications as well. So, and I suppose the big key takeaway for me on that one is that they are looking for industrial and professional certifications as well. That's really, really important. And if I move on then to the academic side of things, I suppose this is where, I'm kind of switched. I'm on the other side of the table now. I'm in academia, and you're probably familiar with this image before, which is called the quality framework, the NFQ framework. And you can see there's down the bottom, you have levels 1 to 10. So level 10 is all the way up to doctorate, level 1, then level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. You can see is all up to the Irish Leaving Cert structure. And then level 6, 7, 8, and 9, 6, 7, 8, and 9 is a lot of degrees, certificates, higher diplomas, where you want to actually then go on and acquire various certifications. And people assume that you need to do this. Maybe if you decide to take on a level 8 honors degree or a higher diploma, that you need 4 years, you need to commit 4 years to do that. But not necessarily. I mean, as an employer or as a person working in industry, if somebody comes into me and they've got a really good degree, or somebody's come into me and got 5 or 6 years of really good work experience, then I'm going to really look at the person who's got the work experience more, because they will have knowledge, they'll have the hardware, software, networking, excuse me, knowledge, and they can also then upskill continuously themselves, so they can continuously then, if they haven't got any kind of a qualification, then they can move on from that. They can reach out and look at getting the certification, maybe at level 6, 7, and 8. We had a number of GMIT students that just graduated just last week with a degree at level 7, and they came on to our courses with no certification and no qualification. And they came on about 2 years ago, and they did small certificates, Springboard funded certificates, and then they went on from that to do another number of courses. And they were able to build up the credits and then be awarded a full degree. And these were people that were already working in industry. So they were juggling full-time or part-time education with working in industry as well. So, if you just can't commit to say 3 or 4 years in college, that's not the end of the world. There's certainly lots of organizations out there that would welcome somebody coming in who's got professional certifications, and then would support them as they upskill through academia during their time working for that college, working for that organization. And as I said, the government are putting a lot of resources and help supports in the place as well, such as Springboard, such as HCI, to allow people to upskill continuously as well. So as I said, you're probably familiar with this little image that I've just put up on the screen. Another one, which you probably are familiar with, is Cyber Ireland. They're a national entity. And for example, Joe was mentioning that ITAG are part of the Cyber Ireland's West chapter. And they put together a really good resource on their website there, which is called the Course Finder. And it allows you to go in and, just like any type of filtering software or filtering website, you're able to select whether you want to look at the courses that are available in full-time mode or part-time mode. Are they delivered online, or delivered blended, or do they require on-site attendance? The duration, the number of years, 1 year, 2 year, 4 years, and then the location, if you want to kind of go Munster, Connacht, etc. So you can use lots of filtering on that to kind of find out what courses are available. And for example, this one here, I've just brought it up. We're actually based in the Mayo campus, but what we deliver is very much online and blended. So our degree, our honors, our higher diploma, and our masters are all delivered online. And sometimes they require maybe 1 or 2 days per term to be on campus. So you can see it at GMIT and Galway Mayo Institute of Technology, which will soon change its name. But we have a certificate in network cybersecurity, a higher diploma in cybersecurity risk and compliance. That's 1 year. Certificate in data cybersecurity is 1 year. A Bachelor of Science in network cybersecurity is over 2 years. Certificate in cybersecurity operations, just 1 year. And that's just GMIT. That's just on your doorstep. And of course, there's other ones there. For example, I also, in that image, I have IT Carlow, and you can see the little flags around the map there. These exist right throughout Ireland, and they are dedicated to cybersecurity. So it's a good resource if you weren't aware of it, just to go and have a look at it. And a lot of some of these courses, again, are Springboard funded. So that's what the next slide is I've just brought up here. Over on the left-hand side, you can see all the Springboard courses that are out there. That's just a snapshot from last year. I didn't even look at the Springboard courses for this year, but these are all courses that are funded by Springboard that are in the area of cybersecurity. So just at the top, the very top one, Athlone Institute of Technology, AIT, which is now Technological University of the Shannon region. They have network infrastructure with security. So they don't necessarily have to put the term cybersecurity into the title, but these courses are all related to something got to do with software security, network security, website security, industrial control systems, etc. So you can see a lot of them with digital forensics, cybersecurity, diploma networking and system security. I'm just glancing down through them. You can have a look at them yourselves. They're all available on Springboard on the website right now. You can see the course, the website is springboardcourses.ie. We are currently running, there's a number of courses that we have up there as well, including a higher diploma. And I'll talk about, I'm conscious that some of you may not have the certification already to be able to get onto a higher diploma, but there's something called recognition of prior learning, which I will come to towards the end of this as well. And there's, I only took a small snapshot of the full-time courses that are out there. And this is all at level 7, level 8, level 9. So that's degree, honors degree, higher diploma, and master's level. And some people might be you might be thinking that's way, I'm not even at level 6 yet, and he's shown me level 7 and 8. But education is lifelong learning. It doesn't mean you have to commit 4 years right now, but rather, take it step by step. That would be my advice. Mixture of professional certification, work experience, and kind of continuously upskilling in academia, because there's no point in saying, I'm just going to do a degree in cybersecurity now and it'll last me for the rest of my life. Absolutely not. I'm personally continuously upskilling in courses all the time, just to stay on top of some of the new tactics that are being used out there. So, excuse me, lots of opportunities, lots of courses, lots of colleges kind of pivoting towards cybersecurity. There are something called tech apprenticeships as well. Again, I have a feeling you probably know about this one already, and it's at FIT, which is Fast Track to IT.ie, and they have apprenticeship levels at cybersecurity, at network engineering, and software developer. And this is a mixture of whereby you can see they're pitched at QQI level 6. So they're a level 6 certification. And it's a mixture of working with industry and working in academia. And that would mean that for the first 6 months, you're pretty much in academia. And then for the next 6 months, you're like, it's 50-50, whether you're with an industry partner and academia. And then for the final 6 months, then you're pretty much, you're working in with the industry partner all the time. So it's like a traditional apprenticeship model. And that's another option for people who want to kind of be able to have a good mix of work experience, working in industry, and also partaking in academia as well. I see a few chat comments coming up there. Yeah, so somebody's put up there. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, I see you're popping in messages up there. Thanks very much. And I suppose the last one, which I think is kind of important as well, and that is what's called recognition of prior learning. And we would process a lot of students in the area of what's called RPL, recognition of prior learning. And I've mentioned this already. So some of you on this call may have worked in other jurisdictions, in other countries. You may have lots and lots of experience working in IT related roles or sysadmin roles, but you may or may not have a certain certification to be able to support that. And you want to join in with a level 7 or a level 8 honors degree, or a level 8 higher diploma, or a level 7 degree, but you don't have the previous level 6 certification to get you there. Well, recognition of prior learning, and this is my experience.ie is a website that I'm sure it's still active. I'm actually because GMIT is changing to what's a new technological university, I'd have to kind of check out whether my experience.ie just works again, but it should do. But it allows you to go and apply for a course and present your previous work experience. So as I said, when I was working in industry, if somebody came into me with a load of industrial experience, great experience in technical roles and support roles, but didn't have an academic piece of paper to go with it, I was always more interested in them as opposed to somebody coming in with a degree or an honors degree, because the learning you get on the job and the learning you get from real life experiences with security, with breaches, with building networks, with tearing down networks, with crashes, with blue screens of death, with all the problems that go wrong, and they will go wrong, that just dealing with those experiences is invaluable for an employer from working rather than somebody just coming in fresh with just academic qualifications. So, and I think that, yeah, I suppose I better finish with this one. Yeah, of course. These are the cyber courses that we're running. Currently live, I'll start with the one in the middle. If you're looking at this image, which is the level 8 higher diploma in cybersecurity risk and compliance. This is of real interest to people who are not technical, but find themselves working in a security or a data protection role. And it's a healthy mix of theoretical subjects and practical subjects. So the practical subjects, the one in the middle is SIEM, S-I-E-M. It stands for Secure Information and Event Management. It's a huge area in its own right within cybersecurity, and I teach that module myself. We also have at the top there data law and ethics, so legislation, GDPR, hugely important. EU legislation. If for some people, if you're not familiar with it, there's some new directive coming out by the EU, and it's called NIS, N-I-S. It's actually the second version, so it's called NIS 2, and that is going to govern how organizations within the EU deal with cybersecurity issues and breaches, and how, are they, one of the changes to NIS 1 to NIS 2 is that organizations can now be fined if they pay a ransom for ransomware. Because up to now, if a lot of organizations that I would know where I live, if they, and people who are past students of mine who are now in IT roles, they would all say, oh, we got hit by a ransomware and we just paid the ransom. Well, that's going to change. If a company pays the ransom now, then they will be fined under EU legislation for doing so. So the whole concept of that is to not reward the threat actors and the malware developers and the ransomware developers, but rather invest that money into secure architecture. So I suppose the technical module then is cybersecurity architecture, and another legal and legislative module within that one is governance, risk, and compliance. And then, of course, you do a dissertation. And I would have, from the previous slide, which I mentioned, which is recognition of prior learning, I would have had a lot of students who would come onto that level 8, but wouldn't maybe meet the prerequisites to get onto it, but would have, because of their prior learning, would be eligible to get onto it. Over on the left-hand side, we have the degree in network cybersecurity. As I said, I've had a whole raft of students that just graduated last week with a level 7 degree in network cybersecurity, who over the last number of years have pursued smaller certifications, such as the certificate in network cybersecurity and the certificate in data cybersecurity. Some of those are Springboard funded, some of them are not. But they were able to study full-time and work full-time, or study part-time and work full-time and gain their degree. And, you know, it's fantastic to see the students do that, to come out with that. And then I also have another batch of students who were on the master's level at level 9, and they're finished with this, just doing the certificate. So again, they were able to pursue 30 credits, working full-time, get 30 credits, and you know, part-time, and now they're coming back to do a big body of research, their thesis. And when they're finished that, probably September 20, probably next May in 2023, then they will finish out with a master's degree, a level 9 degree in cybersecurity operations. So that's it. That is, I suppose that website I have up there is www.gmit.ie. That's going to be valid for about another week before it changes to the new Atlantic Technological University. My email address won't change. It will change, but the GMIT email address will still get me there. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm also on Twitter. So if you just search for me on LinkedIn, you can reach out and private or direct message me there if you want. And absolutely, right now, that email address there is probably the best way to make contact with me. I'm just looking at some of the conversations that are going on there. GMIT certificate in cybersecurity. Yes, thanks, Joe. Yep. And what I might do is, if you certainly with the one with the, if I just go, oh yeah, yeah, I don't have it there, but the higher diploma in cybersecurity operations. Sorry, I did have something there with Springboard. Yeah, so that website there, springboardcourses.ie. If you search for, this one here, the higher diploma in cybersecurity risk and compliance, you'll see the details. It'll give you a lot more information about that one. That's currently funded by the government. So that, and the government funds 90% of that, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then you or your organization invariably only pays the final 10% of that. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and if that's okay, and I'll come back to the to the group, to the class. And thanks, Joe. I know I still have rights. Do you want to have rights back, or
no? It's fine. No, it's grand. No, you're grand. I was just thinking there, Seamus, what I might do is just do up an email and just send out that link for the higher diploma as well. So
yes, absolutely. What I can do is, if you want, if you're able to find that on Joe yourself, then absolutely go and look for it. But if you need me to kind of come back to me, if you need me just to find the exact link for it as well.
Yep, that's fine. Yep, I'll see if I can find it.
I hope that was beneficial. There's probably a lot of information there that you probably already know. I imagine that you might have covered over the last number of weeks with Joe and the team.
So, Seamus, I have a question.
Sure.
So I'm one of these that changed careers, came from something completely unrelated to cybersecurity or IT, and I did 4 years and a higher honors degree, and then I'm not finding a place because I don't have experience. So what will be the next step? I mean, I decided to try with certification, professional certification, but should I try the apprenticeship or what way can I get experience?
Okay. It all depends what you're looking for, Esteban. Are you looking for a cybersecurity role, or are you looking for an IT role?
Well, now I pivoted towards cybersecurity. That will be interesting. But the thing is that if you get your, I feel like if you get your foot through the door in a position, it's easier than to move to cybersecurity or to IT. But for IT, because I'm doing an IT course, what way to gain experience?
Yeah, well, so what I always tell our students, and when they would decide to come in and do something in cybersecurity, is they should really treat cybersecurity as just another skill set that they need to have when they're working in the area of IT. It's not if I look for the jobs, if I look for jobs on any of the jobs websites, I will find maybe 40 or 50 dedicated cybersecurity roles, but I will find hundreds and hundreds of IT related roles. And what's going to happen over the next number of years is an IT related role will have to, as standard, have embedded in it knowledge and cybersecurity skills, threat hunting skills, incident detection and response skill, systems hardening. They will be part and parcel. And when I was working in IT, the only thing I really had to worry about was viruses and Trojans and worms and maybe a nod breach. But the complexity of what's happening out there at the moment is really requiring organizations to look up and say, this skill set needs to be core to what we do. So I suppose the long way of answering your question, I think if you're still struggling to find a position, then your very first step inside the door should be in an IT role, and you will very quickly should be able to move and progress, because that role will require you to have cybersecurity skills. But to get to a point where you are just in core cybersecurity, I think that's going to change over the next number of years. I just think all IT related roles will have cybersecurity built into them as standard. So all the qualifications and certifications you've done at the moment, they are all valid and they are all going to be needed.
Thanks.
Okay.
Sorry, Seamus. Related to the Esteban question, what can be entry-level role for cybersecurity? Because at the end, at the moment, I think only about SOC or other this kind of job, because I don't think so, like a pen tester or forensic, they can have very easy to enter, like a junior role.
Yeah, again, I'm probably going to repeat myself maybe with the answer to what Esteban, the question that it was asked there earlier on. An entry-level role, unless you're lucky enough to be able to kind of get a role with a large organization, a large multinational within say the Galway region or wherever region you're living in, they will have their own dedicated tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 infrastructure, and you may end up just working on a help desk. As I said, when I started, I ended up working on a help desk where all I was trying to deal with were the problems that were internal, and I was just dealing with internal issues associated with broken printers, broken computers crashing, no internet access, etc., etc. And added to that is an entry-level position is now all those things plus being able to respond and raise a ticket for a cybersecurity incident. So I suppose what I'm trying to do is emphasize as much as I can that the cybersecurity should not be viewed as a separate position or a separate skill set or a specific skill set, but rather embedded in your overall job role. And I know that's kind of a difficult one, because I get that from a lot of students is they say, I can't get a job in cybersecurity. They're looking for experience. And my only answer to that is your experience will come from just working in an IT related role. not necessarily a cybersecurity role. Because if you work in any type of IT related role, as part of your job will be to defend your organization's network every single day. From internal attacks, people doing stupid things inside, to external threat actors who are dedicated and looking to break down and break into and breach your organization.
Okay, thanks.
I suppose I kind of see a lot of people there, and you're on the course and you're kind of looking for cybersecurity roles, and it's a kind of a catch-22 situation whereby they are looking for experience, but you can't get experience. It's the same, you know, it's that old chicken and egg problem. How do you get experience without kind of not having, when you not have experience? And there's great. I would forward it on to Joe, but there was a really good skills analysis done by Cyber Ireland, and I'll make that available. It came in on one of the emails. Joe might actually have it from yourself.
I think I might, yeah.
And it's really good indication of what skills are required in the sphere of cybersecurity. And when I was looking at them, I kind of went, they are just standard IT related roles, right? They are just standard IT related responsibilities. So if you can find an organization that's just looking for some kind of an IT entry level support technician, engineer, you know, whatever level that's at, or intermediate level based on your experience, then I would say as part and parcel of that job, security will be part of that.
Also, Seamus, we can add an internship here. If somebody can even find like a job on entry position, we cannot forget about like internships that company actually providing.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of companies are, advertise. That's a great point, Marcin. A lot of companies do advertise internships and traineeships and returnships for people who are really interested in getting into space. And again, they may be in core security or analyst or help desk roles, or they may be just in general IT roles, you know, because as I said, it's just another skill set we need to have.
Well, I see that Karen is actually smirking when I said about like internship, but you can think about that like in a different way. Even right now we are doing the course and you're sacrificing your time. You're sacrificing your time to actually learn the course, learn the answers, to pass the certification. You're definitely working here on to get this certification. But if you are actually, if you will actually have internship, you actually, okay, you're working for free, so you can have this blockade in your mind. Oh, I'm working and they don't pay me for that. Some internship do, some internship paying for that, some don't, but still, in order when you are working, when you are on internship, you still gathering a ton of experience in this workplace. And this is can be extremely beneficial for you to actually jump into like the entry position that you.
Yeah,
that you
Marcin, yeah, we agree with you, but I think Karim was smirking because we were having in our chat that he might go to the dark side and get experience.
No. That's not what the course is about, guys.
A lot of those internships as well, they, you know, if you're working with an internship model or an apprenticeship model, a lot of those internships, so usually they keep the person on after 12 months in some kind of a role or an escalated role within that organization.
Yeah.
And I just one other point I make is that I presume, just looking at some of the people that are here, you've all worked in other. Esteban made the point that you worked in a previous life in a different role or a different position, and you completely changed to a different position. But don't underestimate that life experience and that experience that you're bringing to a job role as well. And an employer, if you're able to sell that as much as you're able to sell your professional and certification and your academic certification, an employer wants somebody who's got skills and life experience as much as they've got professional certifications. So, big that up as much as you can.
Yep. Are there any other questions or comments or? I don't think so. If there is anything that you think of along the way or whatever, or anything you want me to ask Seamus later on in the course, just come back to me and let me know.
I'll just, my final comment on this is, it's a great area to be in. Absolutely. I mean, and I think cybersecurity is overused as a term. And I think we're moving into a new sphere where cybersecurity as a word or as a concept is going to change. It's now going to go into data privacy, data security, personal security, personal privacy, and the word cybersecurity will just be part of that. But it's not going away, and it's only going to get more complex and more complicated. And it'll become, all these new directives that are coming out from the EU, from the US, require organizations to invest as much as they can in security, privacy, stroke cybersecurity. So it's whatever concept or whatever idea you think cybersecurity is now, that's just going to change and morph into something that's going to be just bigger over the next number of years. So it's a really, really big, really, really good area to be in.
One last question. Any thoughts about the role of AI in cybersecurity in the future?
Yeah, it's first of all, my own research is in that area, and I'm actually going away for the summer working in a big area whereby I'm embedding excuse me, machine learning into cybersecurity concept. It's what my research is what I published on. And one of the modules I mentioned earlier on was SIEM, which is Secure Information Event Management. There's lots of SIEM systems out there as well, but there's also something called SOAR, which is orchestration, and that's an automated response. And I just noticed a lot of stuff that happens, like a lot of things that I run on my machine here are red flagged automatically, because what I'm trying to do to my machine is breach GMIT's network. It's just by demonstrating to the students what we can do. And it's red flagged immediately, but it's red flagged based on some kind of an intelligence running in the background that's flagging that and picking it up. AI, machine learning, is going to be fundamental to stopping the advance and threats. So if you've got any knowledge of Python, or you've got any, if you're able to do courses, if you want to kind of move from cybersecurity into data security, into privacy, and you want to move into kind of advanced security, and you want to get into machine learning and artificial intelligence in that space, then Python is the language of choice. Also R programming as well. You can do free courses with Johns Hopkins University on R programming. You can get a certification from that. Lots of free certification in R. I've tried it. I could not get my head around it, but that's just me. I have a different way of thinking. But Python programming is really key. If you have any software skills and you've got a little bit of Python, I would say go and get certification in that as well.
Great.
Okay, Joe.
I know this is a bit off topic, but you were saying about the penalties or fines for people paying or organizations rather paying the ransomware. Was there any controversy over that, or where was the basis of the argument?
No, there was. First of all, we've been Europe has been governed for the last 4 or 5 years by what's called the NIS directive, NIS directive, and it's and if you're looking for, if you've heard of ENISA, ENISA, you can go and look at ENISA. ENISA are the European kind of body. They're the equivalent of NIST in the US. and NISA and have come up with, and EU have come up with the NIST directive, and the NIST 2 directive is the change, but it hasn't been enacted yet, purely because of that question that you just asked, which is there's a lot of countries that don't want to sign up to it because they realize the impact that will have in its infrastructure. And if companies are paying ransomware just to kind of keep on going, and all of a sudden they're now going to be fined on top of that, then that's going to cause major problems to organizations and to companies within Europe. So there's a lot of resistance to the implementation of the NIS 2 directive, but it's going to happen. But with that responsibility is a requirement by Europe to fund countries in making their infrastructure more protected. And what I'm saying, when I say that, I'm not talking about that they give every company a new firewall or a new router, but rather they invest in the technology at domain level. So with anything within .ie, with DNS levels, anything .co.uk, or it's at the government level, it's at the organization level, at the DNS level, whereby they'll implement and they'll fund that change. And it's not a silver bullet solution, but it'll certainly stop an awful lot of the automated malware that's allowed to flow through countries. So the NIST directive it's being resisted, but I think there's big things happening at a very high level to allow countries become more secure.
I have
Thanks
a
for that.
question
Yeah, Thomas, is it?
about last year. I have a question about the last year cyber attack on the HSE.
Yeah.
Did they pay for that ransomware, or?
No, they didn't. There was a lot of diplomatic conversations going on behind the scenes on that one. And now I don't believe for a second that there was a change of heart by the threat group to say, oh, we shouldn't have done this, because they are motivated just by money. But I definitely think there was some diplomatic pressure put on there to just give up some part of the encryption key to that allows the Irish National Cybersecurity Centre to be able to, and the HSE security people to be able to kind of break it. They didn't give up the key completely. They grudgingly gave a part of the key and said, okay, we'll give you that, but you'll have to go and figure it out yourselves. So I suppose to answer your question simply, I would say no, that no ransom was paid. That's just my opinion. I could be completely wrong.
Sorry, Seamus, how you can, a part of the key, what do you mean?
Well, they didn't give the full, say an encryption key is something like,
Thank you. So.
If you understand encryption methodologies, then what they would have done is they would have given a certain part of the mathematical algorithm to be able to break the key, or to be able to get into some of the data. But then they would have had to extrapolate and break subsequent keys or further keys to be able to retrieve the rest of the data. If they were given the full key, then they would have been able to remove the ransom.
Yeah, but if I have part of the key, okay, I don't know, maybe 128 bit, 256. That means that the algorithm is very weak.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the case that they gave them 128 bits of the 256, or DES encryption, but they just gave them the mathematical algorithm that they were running, part of the mathematical algorithm that they were able to then go away and extrapolate what the key would be, rather than just giving them the key themselves.
Do you have a postmortem about that?
Yes, if you go to the National Cybersecurity Centre, ncsc.ie, they give regular updates and they have regular white papers pretty much on a weekly basis about major data breaches. I think they've finished out with the HSE. They've stopped kind of releasing information about what happened with the HSE, but they were very open and the data is all there. They give you the exact code and malware, how it operated. So if you go into the archives of the ncsc.ie, they will kind of give you full information of what happened.
Okay, perfect. Thanks,
Yeah,
Seamus.
no problem.
The last question
Sure.
from me. You were saying.
There's an echo there.
You're in twice.
Maybe like that, is it better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're saying about like certification for Python. Did you have like some specific certification in your mind?
No, not really. I just know a lot with Linux certification. They would. Off the top of my head, I couldn't. I'd have to kind of go looking for you. I can do that, Marcin, if you want. I can reach out back to Joe and just look at certain certification in Python. But if you have knowledge of Python and you've worked in Python, then I would just maybe do a quick generic search for Python for cybersecurity, and after that look for certification in that. But as soon as you do Python for cybersecurity, all the ads will pop up. It'll probably be in CompTIA. There may be some stuff within Coursera. Certainly in Coursera, I know they have them as well. And a lot of them are just free. A lot of them are really just something like you've completed 60 hours or you've completed 12 hours, or, you know, they're not necessarily you've got 5 credits or 10 credits.
Yeah, thank you for that. If you have something like some interesting certification in that area, why not share it? That would be beneficial for sure.
Yeah,
especially
yeah,
especially that Python is so popular programming language. And but from what you're saying, it's like only like a cyber security a layer on top of the Python. I was thinking that it's like a certification in whole like Python programming language, so that you actually are certified that you know this language, how to code in this.
Yeah, that's a bigger certification to have to go in and get a dedicated certificate in Python scripting. That's really nearly getting a qualification in some kind of secure coding or just Python scripting in its own right. I just know from a malware analysis, when we break apart malware and we're looking at any malware, most of it is written in Python. It's either C#, C, or Python, and then it depends if they're targeting websites or some of the other technologies behind websites like SOAP or the protocols that are using, then they are using something like Java. But predominantly, you'll see most of the malware that's written is written in Python. I'll forward that information on to Joe.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
But Python is not native on a Windows machine.
No, but that doesn't mean you can't run it or you can't.
But to run on a Windows, I need the library, the subsystem.
Yeah, but more, that wouldn't stop a data breach coming in and installing some kind of a Python environment, you know, under the hood. It's probably, and most of the Python scripts, you know, they're written in Python, but they're executables, and they wouldn't even need the underlying Python engine to run them.
I was going to say, if you're looking for a specific challenge or project, from what I've seen, it seems like people use Python to write scripts specifically for Nmap as well.
Yeah.
It could be fun, interesting.
Yeah, for some network scanning or something like that, I presume is what you mean.
But if you actually want to use Nmap, you can use Bash, because like Bash is using like commands, Linux commands natively. Depends on how. Depends on how.
Sorry to answer your question, Marcin, and Karim's as well. Windows, for example, has what's called the Linux subsystem for Windows. So you can download and run a Linux subsystem on Windows, which just runs Linux and Bash and a whole Python module just on the Windows platform. It's totally interoperable. This is like a full lecture. That's great. I tell you what, to everybody there, you know, and Joe as well, you know, it's great to have such feedback and interaction on a class like that. As some of my normal daytime students, I wouldn't have that level of interaction. So I appreciate it as much your feedback and your questions, you know, and the discussion. I could stay chatting all day, but I have another meeting to go to at 1 o'clock.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much for your time, Seamus. You're very good.
Okay, my pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
And again, I'd reiterate that thanks to everybody for your contributions and your questions and everything. It was great. I don't know if you wanted to stay on and have a chat among yourselves or anything, you're welcome to do that. But if you want to drop off and get your lunch or whatever, that's fine. Or if you have any questions for me on anything that I can do for you.
Actually, yes. So Seamus, at the beginning, thanks for the lecture. And Joe, is that right?
Yes.
Thanks, Seamus.
So I have a question about that, because when we are on the iTech side, we see that you have a lot of members, and I'm curious that, do you have any contact with them so you can, let's say, recommend us after all for IBM, Boston Scientific, wherever, there's plenty of them over there after this course when we gain some knowledge?
Yes, certainly, Martin. Yeah. So what we do is our member companies will send us on jobs that they have. So we add that to the website and we add it to our social media and that. What we also do for people who've completed the Skills Connect courses with us is we can add your LinkedIn profile to our website to say that you are looking for work. Then obviously if we think there's a match there or whatever, we might just, you know, say, you know, maybe you should have a look at Martin's LinkedIn profile. He might be a match for this particular job, or we could let you know. Do you know what I mean? That way.
Cool. Sounds perfect. Thank you very much.
So if you want to send me on your LinkedIn profile, and we can add that to the website.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That goes for everybody. Anybody who wants me to do that, I can do that. No problem.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, Joe, it's possible to have the link about this recording, the other recording, the other lesson, like the last networking plus the CAIY.
The networking, the recordings of the training for the networking, is it?
Yeah, the last